How's it going? This is Fox back again for Sound Design Tutorials. This is part 3 of our synthesis basics using NI Massive. By that I mean I'm going to be using NI Massive to explain the basics of synthesis. In part 1 we covered the oscillator section of Massive, slightly different to most synthesizers in regards that it's a wavetable oscillator. Part 2 we covered the filters and effects. Obviously I explained most of the effects inside Massive. Pretty much these effects you're going to find in most synths. Every soft synth that's worth a damn is going to have a reverb, a chorus, a delay, a compressor, some sort of distortion. So yeah, not genre specific in regards to how I described everything, but hopefully what you learned should now bring you onto the stage where you're going to want to start modulating things. So yeah, today, modulation, we're going to be covering envelopes. This is going to be your main tool for sculpting your sound. Before you decide to use anything like an LFO, you are going to want to get to grips with envelopes. So yeah, let's dive straight into it. You've got 4 envelopes within Massive, these 4 boxes here. You can choose any one of them to modulate any different parameter that you want. Same sort of thing with any of the modulations inside Massive. You just grab this crosshair, drop it to any of the boxes, and then this envelope is controlling the amount that you designate, whether it's negative or positive. We'll go over that later on. To start with, just going to be going over what an envelope is and how you can use it to sculpt your sound. Pretty much every single soft synth, let's open up Sylenth as well so you got a comparison. Every soft synth already has an envelope mapped to the master volume. In side Massive, it's envelope 4. You can see here in this box here under the amp envelope 4, which is this one here. In Sylenth, it's the main amp envelope up at the top here. Same thing. You got 4 stages for most envelopes, some have more, but the basic 4 stages are attack, decay, sustain, release, or ADSR. I'm quite sure you would have heard of that. Always in that order. That's the order you need to remember it in. That's the order that it goes through the process. You get an attack amount, decay amount, sustain level, and a release amount. Sustain level is a one to remember. It's different to the other ones. Attack amount or attack rate, decay rate, release rate. These are the time-based aspects of the sound. You can change the attack time, how fast or slow you want it to affect the parameter that you're choosing. The decay amount is how fast or slow you want it to go back to the original starting point of the setting. And the release time is probably a better word to use actually. Attack time, decay time, release time, and sustain level. Sustain level is at which point over the modulation that you choose it sits at. It's easier to show this rather than just talk words to you. So if you can look at this envelope here, if you ignore this attack level for now inside Massive, this is going to confuse you a bit. You've got attack, decay. This sustain is the level. This level one here, is the sustain amount, and then you've got release at the end. So this is just a quick super saw that I made at the minute. We'll pull the attack dead full. If I take the release off, turn the reverb off. As you can hear, attack time is on dead 0. It means it's at its fastest. All the way to the left means that the attack time is instant. As soon as you press a note, or as soon as it's triggered by a MIDI note, the volume, in this case, this envelope is mapped to the volume is going to be instantly maximum. No matter how soft you press it, unless it is velocity mapped, which it isn't inside Massive, no matter how fast you press it, how long the note is, how short the note is, if the attack time is on maximum, it is instantly. If the attack time is on minimum, so the fastest is automatically going to jump to the maximum value that you set in your modulation. If you want a slower attack, or you want the volume to come in gradually, all you do is just back the attack time off, or slow the attack down. You can hear a period of silence as the attack time is coming in, and then it reaches the sustain level, which at this instance is full. A really long attack you're going to use for perhaps pads where you want them to creep in slowly. So that is attack in its basics. Attack is the amount of time it takes to reach the sustain level. If you're doing leads and stuff like that, the attack time is going to be quite snappy. You want it to come on quite instantly when a note's triggered. The next knob we need to talk about is the decay. If the sustain level is on full, which means on an amp envelope, that when you press a note you want the attack time to get to the volume specified and stay there, the decay knob is going to have no effect. As you can hear, it's not taking any time to get back down to the sustain level because the sustain level is at maximum. So once it reaches the attack time, it stays there. The decay knob comes into play when you decrease the sustain level, which in this case is overall amplitude volume. So if we decrease the overall sustain level, the decay time now controls how long it's going to take to get back down to that new level that we've chosen. So let's set the level halfway. So what this envelope is now showing is that the attack time is going to come on instantly because the attack's on dead zero. It's going to go to maximum volume, and then it's going to come down over this decay knob time, however long we set this time, to a sustain level, which is the volume output, of around halfway. You're going to hear that. It's going to be loud at the start and then come down to half volume. And then, because it's a decay time knob, this determines how long in time it's going to take to get back down to that level. So if you have it decay time of 0, it's going to go maximum and then automatically down to that sustain level. So you're not going to hear it, you're just going to hear up and then down instantly. You hear a tiny click where it's hitting the maximum amplitude and then coming down again. If we decrease the decay, you're going to actually hear the time it takes for it to get to that level. Getting the gist of it, I hope. Longer decay, the longer it takes to come back down to that sustain level, which is this knob here. If you set the sustain level at 0, this is a sort of envelope that you're going to be using when you're doing plucks, when we use it to modulate a filter later on. If you set the sustain level at 0, the attack is going to make it go to full volume, and then the decay level is the amount of time it's going to take it to come down to 0 volume. One thing to always remember is on this physical graph where you can see an envelope, at the top is maximum value and at the bottom is ultimate 0. So however much you set a modulation amount, like, I know this is probably getting a bit ahead, but if we set envelope 2 to control the amplitude, say in this box, now you can see that this blue ring is the overall amount that the envelope is going to control. So right at the bottom here where this is pointing, this is at the bottom here, time left to right. Right at the top, full volume is at the top here, time left to right. So if we turn that off, that shouldn't have been doing that, bear with me. Let me just load a super sorry thing back in quick. So yeah, I hope I explained that well enough for you. That is just solely based on a main amp envelope, and we'll show you a couple of other synths quick, some other ways that you're going to be shown an ADSR envelope. If we go into Sylenth, if I turn that on, let's create a quick super saw with this as well. Just bear with me a sec. So yeah, what we were talking about, attack, decay, sustain, release. Sometimes you're going to be using these sort of old school analog style envelopes. These are probably a little bit more simple to understand, right? I mean, the graphs help to visualize it, but when you've got knobs left and right, it's probably hard to understand. So yeah, your attack time at the bottom, as I said, on the bottom is ultimate 0 and at the top is maximum. So if you want a quick attack again, at the bottom, instant sound. If you want a slow attack, to copy this, paste it to B. Let me do away with part B actually. So slow attack again. We're using the attack time to bring the volume in slowly. If we do no sustain again, as I said before, the decay time is then going to take you. If you have the attack time on full, the decay is how long it takes to get back to that sustain level. Longer the decay, the longer time. And then so yeah, that's another way that you're going to be visualized it in these sliders that go up and down. If we go into FM8, I'll just show you a couple more synths quickly, just show you what the envelopes look like. The envelopes inside FM8 look like this. That's got one saw wave on at the minute. Let's open the sound quick. One of mine. So yeah, go to the envelope section again of F, which is the operator that one of the operators we've got on. Go to the master. Let's turn all these off so we're only hearing one. So yeah, this is how you see the envelopes inside FM8. You don't get any attack, decay, sustain or release knobs. You just get the envelopes graphically displayed here, but it's exactly the same what we showed. You've got these points again. You can add more points inside FM8 because it's a bit more involved. But this will always be your attack time. The first line going up to a point is your attack time. So a longer attack. So yeah, if we back the attack off again. You can also control the curve, how steep or how fast or how not so steep you want it to be. So that's another way that you're going to be showing envelopes. As I say, the first point will be the attack. This is your sustain level, the overall volume. Decay time in length, left to right. Next bit we have to go over is release. We'll just show you Synth Master quickly. This one is a proper hybrid synth, so you've got both. Same as Massive, you've got the attack as a knob, decay as a knob, sustain as a knob, release as a knob. You've also got the graph that you can drag the points around yourself as well if you want. Exactly the same again. Attack will always be up to the first slope. So that's a few different ways you're going to be shown envelopes. Some synths, let me show you Diva quickly. This one gives you the choice in varying different synths. Some synths you're just going to be showing these knobs and no graphical representation. So, attack. All the same principles. Attack is the time it takes to get to that point. Decay, how long it takes to come back down again. All the same principles, all different ways that you might see certain synths showing it in different ways, but they've all got that same structure: attack, level, decay, attack time, decay time, sustain level, release time. So we need to go over the release now. The release is exactly what you think it would be. It's how long it takes for the volume to decrease to ultimate 0. If you're using no sustain and a decay, it's not going to have any effect. So if we turn the sustain down to 0, your decay is controlling the time it gets to 0. If you have a sustain level, when you let go, there is a moment of time where the note holds on, and the release time is how long that holds on for. If we have it really long, when you let go or a MIDI note ends, the release tails, keeps grabbing onto it and keeps getting it, letting it go bit by bit over the time specified. Time left to right, as always. The longer the curve, the longer it's going to take. The shorter the curve, the shorter it's going to take. Again, when you have the release on dead 0, it's instant. Press it on, let go, it stops. You're going to get used to which combination of these get the best sounds. As I say, to get a nice plucky sound, you're going to have no release. Sustain level on 0, ultimate attack, so it's instant, and then control the length of the note with a decay. If you want it to last longer decay. Shorter. So yeah, that is an envelope in a nutshell. It's really basic again. If you've got any questions, please ask. I can always go into more detail, but I could speak for 2 hours just on how envelopes work. But I say that's an easy way to remember it. Remember, attack, time, decay, time, sustain, level, the overall level. Let's do a quick example now of how you can use an envelope on something else. The most common one of that is going to be a filter. So if we use envelope 2 in Massive, I've just introduced a low pass filter there. I've got all 3 oscillators routed to filter 1. It's in series mode, and the mix is coming out of filter 1. So all the sound from the 3 oscillators is going into filter 1 and then out. I have a low pass 2 filter on it. Let's put the sustain level on full. I explained what filters done in my previous tutorial. There'll be a link in the description so you can go to that and get the general gist on what a filter does. When you start playing with filters, you're going to think, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could slowly modulate that filter cutoff to come out? We can do that quite easily with an envelope. After what we've learnt, you would imagine it's going to be, and it is, the attack time. How long it takes to do that sweep that we want. The first thing you need to do when modulating any parameter is you need to think how far you want it to go. So the best thing to do is play with it. You think, yeah, I don't really want it to go all the way around because it's bringing in that high harmonics and then aliasing. So that's a nice point there. Try and visualize where it is. Bring it back to the original position. Drag and drop it on it, and then pull it round till it gets to that point that you wanted. And then how we do that then, as I say, is the attack time. The attack time is how long it's going to take for this to move this cutoff knob that amount. So short attack, it's going to be instant. You're not even going to tell it's being modulated. If we back the attack time off, it's going to take longer to get to that point. Really useful for pads and such things where you want to gradual input. We'll give it even more attack, it's going to take even longer. Really good for adding moods and adding a lot of movement within a sound. We'll go over velocity, key tracking and this morph section of the envelopes later on. Also a delay. For now I'm just going to show you what you can use it for. Basic modulation. If you're making any sort of serious sound, you are going to have an envelope on a filter. I'll pretty much put an envelope on a filter of every patch I make. If it doesn't have an envelope, it's going to have an LFO, but that's another hour on its own. I'm just going to be covering envelopes today. Slow attack, slowly moving it around over that time there. Another neat trick for a filter envelope, this is probably the most common envelope used on a filter, is to give you that classic plucky sound. And how you want that, let me do the pluck first and then we'll talk about what we're hearing. Classic pluck using pretty much every genre there is, trance mainly. And what you're hearing there, a way you can start to visualise and how to break sounds down. Let's decrease the sustain level a bit. So what you can hear there is a classic pluck, as I said. So what you are hearing is a snap, so the filter is all open, and then it closing slightly slower to get back down to zero. That's how you get that high pluck, sort of a twang of the filter opening up. I can remove the modulation and try and do it by hand. As you can see, very tricky. You can use an envelope to do that. Keep it that same amount. So what this is doing now is the attack time is on dead zero, so it's instantly snapping from its low point to the high point. So in effect it's starting at the high point. The filter is almost open straight away and it's closing, I would say slowly, but over a fraction of a time down to zero with this decay time that we've got here. Longer the decay, longer it takes to do it. Clipping again, sorry. Commonly used in arpeggios and the such. Longer decay time. Most people are going to modulate this later on inside their track so you can have it evolving. Let me just find a quick plucky sequence for you. half that. Don't say it's crashing on me. I don't want to save it now. So let's loop that round. We've got some real short MIDI notes inside this clip. If we increase that decay, it's going to take longer for the filter to go back to that 0. So real common use for an envelope is on a filter. You're not limited by just filters. You can use envelopes to control anything. You can use it to control the amount of reverb you've got going on. We can use a totally separate envelope. So yeah, I mean, these notes are really short. So if we double time it, drag these notes out. We have the decay on the filter quite wide open. We can use an envelope, another envelope, say envelope 3, to control the dry wet. So we want the reverb to come in there, quite a slowish attack. So the note is being played, the filter envelope is closing slowly, and the reverb is taking a short amount of time to come in. You can hear the note playing and then the reverb coming in later on. That's all because we've put a tiny attack time on this reverb dry wet. So the note is playing and then the wet is coming in of the reverb. Neat little trick. So yeah, many possibilities of what you can do with envelope. It's all determined by the attack time, really, or the decay time. Remember that, attack time, decay time. I'll keep saying it. This is the amount of time it takes to do whatever you want it to do. Like say, yeah, we want that reverb to come in slowly. Use the attack time to control it. Keep sustain on full. If you want the reverb to come in instantly and then peter out, we'll drop that back in. We'll have the attack on full and decay level quite long, sustain on 0. So the reverb's going to come in instantly and then it's going to go out slowly. So you can hear it, the reverb is on full and then it slowly peters out. So yeah, same, many possibilities. I use hundreds of different reverbs when I make patches inside Massive. You can use any one of these envelopes to control everything. One thing I will say is don't mess around with envelope 4 too much, because it is ultimately your amp envelope. You can change it if you want, but if you're going to use it to modulate other things, always remember that it is controlling your volume and that any alteration you do will ultimately alter the output gain. Okay, let's put the envelope 3, we've still got control in that reverb, put the sustain on full. So let's talk about this delay now. What this does is this gives you a certain amount of time before the envelope starts working. It's almost like an attack time before the attack starts. So if you want to delay before the envelope comes in, like if you want a period of silence and then for it to bring the reverb wet in, just to bring in some delay time. So yeah, crazy shit. You can do some crazy stuff. This stuff in here is a bit advanced for this. I probably will just cover it basically. This section, you can choose different shapes to have over your sustain level time, and you can choose different shapes to do it. This morph knob brings it in. You say, look, you can choose, well, there's some crazy shapes. The morph knob changes between the original signal and this crazy signal. All this does is it fluctuates the sustain level. So once it's got to the attack time, you can introduce these shapes so it can fluctuate your volume or whatever, or the dry wet as we're controlling here. Better one to show it on the volume. So yeah, if we choose one of these again, let's try the switch one, introduce some morph, bring the level down, set the loop mode to 4. Let's choose a different one actually. That's a crazy one. You're going to hear this modulating the volume up and down now quite drastically. If we have one big long note, that is. You can hear it turning the note on and off very quickly. Turning the volume up and down, because obviously this is volume maximum, this is volume negative, because we're messing around with envelope 4. So it's like flicking the volume up and down real quickly to this thing. I'll talk about these buttons here. 0 trigger reset. You want this on. This means that every time a new note comes in, it's going to start the envelope over again. Linear, I'm not too sure what the linear does. Gate, and the gate is pretty much the same as trigger 0 reset. It's going to finish one envelope before it starts another. One shot does exactly what it says. It's going to do this envelope once and then it's going to stop wherever it ends. You set the loop on one. It's how many times you want it to loop backwards and forwards. So I think we're getting above ourselves here. Most synths aren't going to have something like this. You can draw them in on some synths like Synth Master on the multi-stage envelopes and that. But yeah, generally you're not going to be wanting to messing around with this until you've got the general gist of what synths can do before that. So attack, decay, sustain, release. Pretty basic. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can cover. I know I was doing this solely inside Massive, but I felt like I had to show you the different types of envelopes. What else are your envelopes used for? That's it really, just controlling the time of something. So you're not limited to by what you can do it, by what parameters you can use it. Your imagination is pretty much unlimited to what you can use them for. So one shot does one cycle of the envelope, so it's putting it on, turning it along, turning it off. With it off, it's gonna it's on gate mode. Gate mode, it's gonna the length note, the note of the MIDI note, or the length of the note, the length of the press on the controller dedicates how long it lasts for. Show you what what we can do, bring some other envelopes in quick. We'll make a real quick pad just to show you the power of some envelopes. We'll draw in some MIDI notes quick, show you what you can really do when you know what you're doing, which I'll pretend to do daily. How long I've been waffling on about envelopes for? Half hour, 3/4 of an hour, I would imagine. So yeah, let's just draw a big chord. I'll change the progression halfway through. So yeah, let's make a pad just using envelopes. The envelopes are going to be my only modulation source for this, so let's go ahead and initialize it. New sound. Go ahead and create a real basic supersaw quick. I'm going to route everything to filter 1. I'm going to modulate filter 1 with an envelope in a bit. I'm going to use 3 saw waves. They're all on saw waves at the minute. Click them on, turn them on. So 3 saw waves, all amps on full. It's going to be loud. Pitch this one down 1 octave, Alt, drag it down, offset it slightly, pitch this one up, Alt, drag it up. We'll also drag this one up by another 7 semitones, so 12 plus 7 is 19, just to give it a bit of a chorded feel. We'll go into the voicing section, 16 voices unison, make it big. This is going to be loud again. Pan these new voices. We're going to use an envelope to bring that in. I might be going a bit quick. I'm going to use one envelope to do most of the modulation. I'm going to use it to modulate the cutoff for filter 2. So we've got a low pass filter. That modulation we did earlier, that slow influx of a filter. Drag it round to the right. The way we do that, sustain level on full, just the attack time, how long we want it to take for it to do it. The voicing section, we're going to use that same envelope to slowly push the voices round. Envelope 2, slowly deep tune those voices. And we're going to use them to slowly pan them from mono to full width. It's a neat trick. The new voices are going to start in the middle and get pushed out wide. We'll use another envelope quickly to give us an LFO sort of effect. We'll use envelope 3. You can use 2 envelopes in one in massive. We'll cover this later on to bring it down slightly. I'm going to set this to loop once. Set it to infinite loops. Sorry, so it's going to go back and forwards. Let's pitch that on 12. You can hear it now looping this section over infinitely from negative to full over this amount that we've got here. So it gives it that sort of wavy effect. Bring some reverb in. We use that same slow envelope too to bring the reverb amount in. So no reverb, slowly bring the reverb in. Actually, we'll take that envelope 3 off that. We'll introduce a second filter, which is a low pass filter also. We'll send the mix to 2. We'll set the filter mode into serial, so these 3 are going into filter 1, then into filter 2. volume of filter 2 up. So that envelope that we set up with that looping section, we'll now do that on here. We'll set a dimension expander in here as well, just to give us even some more width. We'll bring in a bit of phase modulation on oscillator 1. We'll pitch this down by 1 octave, -12. Again, that nice slow envelope. It's a good thing to keep the same envelope to do all your modulation. We'll introduce a bit of feedback. We'll go to the routing section quick. Make sure the feedback is after filter 1. We'll use that wibbly wobbly. No, we'll use another filter. We'll use another envelope. Sorry, we'll use envelope 1 to do this. But we'll get this to just come in and then go out. So quite a slow attack, quite a slow decay, no sustain level. So it's going to bring the feedback in and then take it out. So yeah, actually we'll set that envelope 1 to a long slow attack and a long slow decay. We'll get this to control the frequency shift as well, just change the pitch of it a bit. You can start to get some really freaky ethereal sort of shapes going on. Yeah, again, you're unlimited by what you can do. We can get that wobbly one to control the colour for the reverb, so it goes from dull to bright. Changed all those to a square wave. Now we'll use that slow one to change them from a square wave to a saw wave, and we'll use that slow envelope to bring in the pitch shifting over time as well. Give a bit of space between the notes so you got a chance to hear the reverbs working ever so slightly. Whoa. So there you have it, quite a lot of moving, changing tones there, all done with an envelope, 4 envelopes to be precise. When we go over LFOs later on in the next episode, you're going to get into some crazy modulation. Endless possibilities. So Massive is in depth when it comes to learning all this stuff if you're just starting out. But if you can get grips to this synth, I always tell students and people that ask me, if you can get grips with Massive, learn it inside and out, you can transfer it to pretty much any synth. It's got all the tools you need to make pretty much any sound. Quite a spacey, freaky sound that is, I like it. And one thing we didn't go over quick in the envelope section is these 2 sliders here. These just tell you how much you want the key tracking and the velocity to affect these envelopes. If you turn it on, velocity is going to affect how much envelope is used. Key tracking is the same. Again, I'll cover this later on in a bit more in depth when I go into the LFOs and stuff, because they have key tracking. You have how do they? I might be lying. They do not. I suppose I need to go over the voicing section and the oscillator section as well at some point as well. I'm not too sure whether I did that in the first episode. Either way, there'll be a link in the description to part 1 and part 2 if you want to start at the start and work our way through. I'll have a good quick look through that and make sure I haven't missed anything out. Yeah, if you've got any questions about envelopes, please let me know. I hope I covered it in as much detail so you get a general grips of it, but not boring you too much. Hopefully I showed you, give you some ideas of what you can use them for. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. It's youtube.com/MrMFox22. Yeah, stick around. Part 4 coming up, LFOs. Opens up a whole new world of modulation and sound designing capabilities. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Cheers.